in this case, there were actually individuals who emailed or contacted the German police to say, we're concerned this individual is planning an attack. It's just that the warnings weren't taken particularly seriously. And also there's evidence that the Saudi authorities warned the German government about this individual as well. So with this case, there were lots of warnings, a lot of red flags that were just ignored, unfortunately.
There are expected to be more far-right protests in Germany after the attack on a Christmas market, which killed 5 people. But the attack may be difficult for the right-wing party, the AfD, to exploit, as it's far from clear what motivated the suspect. Taleb al-Abdel Mohsen was a Saudi national who has renounced Islam and campaigned against immigration. He seems to be part of a rise in recent years of extremist cases where there is no obvious motivation. Ghaffar Hussain is an author and terrorism expert, and he's written in the Times today about this trend. Good morning.
Good morning, James.
From what we know, is it possible to deduce any kind of motive from this man?
It is certainly a curious case. From looking into it, he seems to have adopted European far-right narratives, especially around immigration and the threat of Islam and Muslim immigration in particular. And he seems to have adopted a wider European trend that we now call the populist right or the populist far-right. But he's also, according to people, he denounced Islam. So he described himself as an ex-Muslim. But having spoken to people from that community, he wasn't very popular in that community either. They described him as someone who's quite unstable, quite unpredictable, quite erratic, quite angry, someone who sent a lot of threatening messages to women in particular. So beyond his adoption of a sort of a Breivik-type far-right narrative, it appears he was someone who had issues. Hasn't not been obviously diagnosed at this point with any kind of mental health issues, but clearly there was a lot going on with this individual. So yeah, it's difficult to establish motive. But it is a few months before the German elections, and if anything, his attack will give impetus to the AfD or the more populist right-wing elements within Germany. I don't know if that was his motive or not. That certainly will be the impact.
Well, it will be very interesting to see the fallout, because you could almost see it impacting the AfD in either way, because on the one hand, they have been campaigning against the levels of immigration in Germany for years, but on the other hand, he appeared to be a supporter even of the AfD at a time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know if that nuance will be taken into account or not. I think for some of the people who are probably more to the right of the AfD, let's say, they might see it as, okay, he was a Saudi national, he was, of Muslim origin and shouldn't have been in Europe in the first place. And if they go down the race-based or ethnicity-based route, then, it could play into their hands. But on the other hand, he was a supporter of the AfD and he supported their policies, especially vis-a-vis immigration. So it'll be interesting to see how it's taken. But I think often with these cases, it starts off, a case like this can give the impetus to protests, but eventually it goes beyond the case. It's not, eventually what's happened over the past 20, 30 years will come into account, and all sorts of other grievances as well. So in a few weeks' time, the particularities of this case will be probably lost in the wider debate.
I mean, it is curious when you consider that he seems to be a weird mishmash of grievances. And is that a growing trend? And is social media and sort of algorithms, are they almost partly to blame, maybe, extremist ideologies now are less coherent and are more personal?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's to do with the way information is consumed now. We don't read books or we don't read books the way we used to. So we consume information in short segments, whether it's a 20-second TikTok video or a 160-character tweet. And if you look at any kind of social media feed, you're being bombarded with so many different pieces of information at the same time from so many different sources. So there's no surprise that a lot of people are sort of managing or trying to make sense of a lot of different ideas at the same time and come in the influence of a lot of different ideas at the same time. But on top of that, you've got social media algorithms that will try to detect where your sympathies lie and then give you content that's in line with those sympathies. So it's much easier to push people down a particular pathway and create an echo chamber online where everything they come across is reinforced every day by content that they see. I think that's quite damaging. So I think I don't know what we do about that, to be honest with you, because social media platforms are such an integral part of our lives now. And there seems to be very little government can do to try to stop this business model. So it's a trend that is unfortunately on the rise.
Is there anything we can do to be better at spotting the warning signs of someone who maybe is starting to kind of fall into an extremist ideology?
There is, but that requires someone or a frontline worker to have regular contact with that person, which is rarely the case. So this is a 50-year-old man. If it was a 16-year-old boy at school, a teacher could probably detect some signs, and his friends could detect signs. But it's a 50-year-old man living by himself, occasionally doing, appearances on the internet. It's been very difficult for someone to, But in this case, there were actually individuals who emailed or contacted the German police to say, we're concerned this individual is planning an attack. It's just that the warnings weren't taken particularly seriously. And also there's evidence that the Saudi authorities warned the German government about this individual as well. So with this case, there were lots of warnings, a lot of red flags that were just ignored, unfortunately.
Ghaffar, thank you so much. Ghaffar Hussain there, author and terrorism expert, who's written a really interesting analysis piece on the possible motivations of the the Saudi national who was responsible for the attack in Germany over the weekend in the Times today. You can read it, of course, in the paper and online with a digital.
Aber beleidigen muss man auch nicht und glotzen muss man auch nicht die ganze Zeit. Man muss ja die ganze Zeit einen angucken.
Der ist halt hier, also das ist ja nicht abgesperrt, das ist ja alles Straße.
Beleidigen muss man dann auch nicht. Nur lautes Wort in 20 zu beleidigen.
Aber jetzt muss man ja mal überlegen, wir haben die ganze Zeit aber auch gesehen, wir bleiben an Telefon, das kommt mal rein.